evening from Los Angeles. 4 years ago today, President George W. Bush thought it was mission accomplished. Tonight, he is one of the handful left who does not think it has instead become mission impossible. Our fifth story on the countdown, with 3,351 American troops killed, 25,090 more injured. Congress sent the president its first bill aimed at eventually ending that war in Iraq, and he has now vetoed that bill. The majority leader of the Senate and the Speaker of the House holding an unusual signing ceremony for the Iraq funding legislation, which would provide $124 billion, with a goal of withdrawing most combat forces from Iraq by April 2008. Both leaders using the public venue to once again beseech the president, in the name of whatever he might think is holy, to change his mind. The call fell on deaf ears. The president nixed the bill within hours of receiving it, then asked network and cable networks to suspend programming so he could address the nation and explain himself.
Members of the House and the Senate passed a bill that substitutes the opinions of politicians for the judgment of our military commanders. So a few minutes ago, I vetoed the bill. It's true that not everyone taking innocent life in Iraq wants to attack America here at home. But many do. Many also belong to the same terrorist network that attacked us on September the 11th, 2001, and wants to attack us here at home again. It makes no sense to tell the enemy when you plan to start withdrawing. All the terrorists would have to do is mark their calendars and gather their strength and begin plotting how to overthrow the government and take control of the country of Iraq.
And after that explanation, the Speaker of the House pointing out the hypocrisy of President Bush refusing to consider timelines to get out of Iraq.
The President said in his comments that he did not believe in timelines, and he spoke out very forcefully against them. Yet, in 1999, on June 5th, then Governor Bush said about President Clinton, "I think it's important for the President to lay out a timetable as to how long they will be involved and when they would be withdrawn." Despite his past statements, President Bush refuses to apply the same standards to his own activity.
And the president vetoed a war funding bill on the anniversary of mission accomplished in Iraq. Not quite the image the White House planned to portray on this symbolic day of May 1st. Instead, this was meant to be the scripted message. The commander-in-chief speaking this afternoon at the CENTCOM Coalition Village in Tampa, in Florida, touting the perceived successes of coalition partners in fighting terrorism, equating the current conflict in Iraq with World War II and the Cold War, and seeking to buoy up the notion that a coalition of the willing helped invade Iraq, as though that image could somehow banish this picture of him in the flight suit 4 years ago today, declaring that major combat operations in Iraq were over, that the U.S. and its allies had prevailed, while the mission accomplished sign loomed ominously behind him. Of course, exactly what that mission is or was remains unclear. Saddam Hussein's regime is disarmed, the threat of WMD is gone, even Saddam is dead. Yet U.S. troops remain, still seeking to accomplish whatever this administration declares on any given day, whatever the mission happens to be.
The mission is there to be a democratic Iraq where they have elections to elect their government. That's the mission, to help them achieve that.
In fact, we are told that was always the mission.
We are in Iraq today because our goal has always been more than the removal of a brutal dictator. It is to leave a free and democratic Iraq in its place.
A free and democratic Iraq? If that was always the goal, then should not this qualify as mission accomplished?
I've just returned from Baghdad, and I was inspired to be able to visit the capital of a free and democratic Iraq.
No, we are told the mission has always been more than eliminating WMDs, more than the removal of a brutal dictator, more than a free and democratic Iraq.
Our goal is a democratic Iraq that upholds the rule of law, respects the rights of its people, provides them security, and is an ally in the war on terror.
Al-Qaeda, after all, our government has assured us, was working with Iraq before 9/11, was at least in Iraq before 9/11, is definitely in Iraq now, has at least a sort of affiliated group in Iraq now, and will definitely set up shop in Iraq someday if ever the U.S. were to leave. But though the goals recede and shift, as in an incoming fog, one thing does not change. Like Don Quixote, or the victim of the law of diminishing returns, or a bad football team, we have always just moved ahead halfway to that goal line. That goal, some goal, remains always within reach, always still worth pursuing, always necessary to pursue.
The 83 days since I announced the end of major combat operations in Iraq, we have made progress.
We've made good progress, and we are making steadfast progress.
We're making great progress.
We're making progress. And we're making progress toward that goal.
We're making progress. American and Iraqi forces have made substantial progress. We're making progress toward peace. Iraq has made incredible political progress. We have seen encouraging progress. We're seeing progress on the ground. I'm encouraged by the progress, and we're making progress. There is encouraging progress in Iraq. This is real progress. But I see progress. Initial signs of progress are encouraging. We're beginning to see some signs of progress.
Progress, year after year, in almost mathematically precise increments, never quite enough to justify leaving, always just enough to justify staying. Because there is always another milestone to look forward to, a turning point beyond which victory might lie.
We got him.
The capture of Saddam Hussein, the interim government, the interim constitution, the permanent government, the permanent constitution, the Iraqi vote of January 2005, of October 2005, of December 2005, the Prime Minister of 2004 and 2005 and 2006. And when political milestones peter out, we are told to give the military plans another chance. The new ways forward, the surge of 2005, the surge of 2006, the surge of 2007. This one expected to bring us at least into 2008. If it comes to seem as though they want this war to last forever, consider how far-reaching were their goals when national optimism permitted our leaders to voice those goals out loud.
As I stated in a speech in the lead-up to the war, a liberated Iraq could show the power of freedom to transform the Middle East.
And yet, 4 years later, continued reliance on military power undercuts his own argument that freedom has the power to transform that region. 4 years later, continued reliance on deceit at home to enable the stated mission of nurturing democracy abroad demonstrates that it will forever remain beyond the reach of a man who does not understand freedom ever to claim that the mission of freedom has been accomplished.